Tressa and I love to be able to put on what we call our Keystone events. And Keystone event is what today is, and we have anywhere from this many people to this room full of people. It just depends on what's happening for people and what their schedules allow. A little bit about us is Tressa and I have been married for 22 years, and we love being married and we love our family. We have 8 children, and one of the fun things is that when we first started getting to know each other, we were talking, and we talked one of those times when you talk late into the night and it's the next morning and you're still talking. It was one of those experiences, and apparently she asked me how many children I wanted to have, and apparently I said 10. Which is absolutely, totally fine with me. I would have loved to have 10 children, but we have 8. And
2 adopted.
And kind of 2 adopted, yes. We have, we have what we've always wanted, which is our home seems to attract youth, and we love that. And then, shortly after we were married, I waited until after we were married apparently, I suggested we should homeschool. To which Tresta said I was absolutely out of my mind. Number one, she knew how weird homeschoolers were. She'd had some friends that ended up being homeschooled and they were weird. And number 2, Tresta has 2 degrees, and yet she felt she was stupid. She didn't think she was smart enough to teach her kids. Well, I convinced her to go to a conference or 2, and she met a lady by the name of Eugene Livingston. And there, her eyes and her heart were opened. And she discovered the beauty of knowledge and how to really obtain knowledge and how to instill it into your children. And so, 22 years later, we're still doing it, and now she loves it, and she's by far a larger advocate than I am. And yet I still love the idea. I love the idea that I believe that we're here as parents to be mentors. Our whole job, I've studied mentoring, I've studied being a presenter, and in both cases, I've heard over and over again, you can't mentor family. And I'm like, wait a second, that's my purpose. I'm supposed to mentor those children as they're growing up so that they have a foundation and I can help them. Because in mentoring, the way I see mentoring, my job as a mentor is to pull out of you what is your power, to help you see your potential, to help you see where you want to go, find your passion so that you can affect the world the way you're supposed to, the way you individually are supposed to. And so that is why I love the idea of homeschooling, is that you're able to mentor your children into what they need to learn to get to their goals and even be able to help find their goals. So Tresta has been studying for 20+ years, and she is well known for her symbolism classes and her Theology Tree, which she's going to introduce a little bit of that to you today. And now she has developed over the years what she calls the key pattern of learning. There are certain things that we get from God, and then there's certain responsibilities in learning that we have to have it happen. It's the actions that happen. I'm not going to go any further than that because she knows how to explain exactly what she's trying to teach. But my point is that she's the different things that she's done. She's the LDS Homeschool Conference main director, head director, and in this area and in St. George, and being asked to speak all over Utah and even in what? Nevada, and now even asking us to move on to Arizona. And so she is, well, as it was put the other day by someone else, a key leader in our local and not so local homeschool movement. So please help me welcome Tresta.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and thanks for being here. So how many of you guys have felt like you need to learn something, like you have a hunger for learning? Does anybody have that? And how about, do you have ever had a question that just kept lingering for years and years and years and you could never find the answer? Have you had that?
Yeah.
Oh, I have had that so many times. And have you ever found the answer like years and years later and you're just walking into some random place, you walk in and someone says, da 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 da, and you're like, that's my answer. Have you ever felt that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have felt that way too, and I love that feeling. So this is the type of learning we want to do. We want to have that question time period, and then when we can be able to open up and all of a sudden have those questions and not realize that they're not going to maybe not be answered for years down the road, but to continue to think on them and ponder on them so that your subconscious mind is going to say, go over there right now and you'll get your answer, right? And that's what we're doing. So, okay, so I want you to imagine with me. I want you to pretend that you're little again. Pretend that you're little kids again. That you are walking through the forest and you're with your brother or sister and you're having fun just walking through the forest and you see this big, gorgeous tree. It's just beautiful looking. And you notice there's several branches cut off, but you climb up on it and you get to sit on there and you're just looking like, wow, this is the coolest tree ever. I can get comfortable. I'm having so much fun. And you're there and all of a sudden you hear this voice. Hello. You're like, did I hear that voice? Hello? Hello, is someone there? Did you hear that? I heard that. Did you hear that? I heard that. And then you say, yeah, there's someone talking. Hello, who are you? Hello, my name is Theo. I'm so glad you came to my tree. Where are you? I don't see you, I don't see your voice. I'm the tree. I'm talking to you. So let me introduce you to Theo. This is Theo, the talking tree. He's the theology tree. So he starts explaining to you, saying, hey, I'm the theology tree. I know I am the source of all knowledge. I was the very first tree put on earth with the source of everything. I have all of the answers to all the questions. I have all of the knowledge of all sciences and music and art and literature. I have everything within me, and everything that is out there in the world came from me. You're like, wow, I'm sitting in that type of tree? This is amazing. And then, you as a little girl or a little boy thinks, well, then why are your branches cut off? Why do you have the branches cut off? You're not a gorgeous tree, you're not fulfilling the tree, and you're hidden in the middle of a forest. He goes, well, because I've been forgotten. Let me tell you a story. So the theology tree tells you the story of how he used to be gorgeous and beautiful and amazing, and everybody would come to him and take branches off him and be able to grow things and things. And one day, this guy named Canaan decided to come by, and he's been going to the tree quite often, and he was specifically interested in the science branch. He really loved science. And he kept coming every day, and pretty soon he decided that he was smart, that he could just climb that tree, and if he were to cut off that branch and take that branch with him, that he could be the owner of the science, and that he could do science, and he could be the source of all sciences, because he loved the science branch. So the next day he brings up a saw. He climbs up on the tree and he sits right here and starts sawing right here. Now what's going to happen?
He's going to fall.
He's going to fall. Yeah. He's going to fall and crash, right? But he doesn't realize that. He's smart. So he's sawing away, and he's sawing and sawing and sawing. Theo is saying, please don't cut me. Please don't cut me. This is not right. You will not have a living. This branch will die if you take me. But he keeps sawing, and he keeps sawing, and he keeps sawing until he falls. The whole branch falls down, crashes to the ground, and then he gets mad. He stands up and he goes, you did this to me. Did he really do that to him? No, but he blames the tree. He blames Theo. And he says, I am no longer going to be a part of you. I am taking this branch and I'm never coming back again. So he picks up the branch and he drags it away and he takes it away and starts his own branches and starts teaching that science is not from its original source. That science can be its own branch by itself. And then from years and years after that, we start segregating. More and more people would take branches. More people would take this idea, say, I'm going to teach this type of science, I'm going to teach this type of literature, and I'm going to take this sort of things. And we segregate and we have classrooms that teach individual subjects now, instead of bringing them back to their original source. So, back to Theo and you as a little child sitting on that tree. Wow, how would you feel? Knowing that that was the source of all knowledge, you were sitting next to it, but it's been ripped apart, it's been sawed off. How would you feel?
Compassion.
Would you have a question?
I think I'd want to know how I could get all that knowledge again. Where it would be. I think that'd be my first question. If it's sawed off, can I still have it? Where can I find it?
Okay.
Am I right?
Yeah, that's the
I
question
don't
I would
know.
have. That's the question I'd have. Absolutely. Absolutely. Can they come back? Can we bring them back? All this scattered knowledge throughout the whole world, can I bring it back to its original source? And Theo says, oh, I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. Yes, you can go out and find those branches and come and bring them back to me, and I can graft them back in. So will you help me find those branches so that we can graft them back into that tree? I would like you to. And the little boy and girls are saying, yes, yes, how do I do this? How do I do this? And Theo goes, oh, I can tell you. I'm so glad someone is finally interested in bringing our subjects back to the source so that we can spread the real. Because those branches that are out there are actually dying. They don't know that they're dying, but they're dying. And pretty soon they won't exist because I'm going to die if I don't have them back. I need them back so that knowledge can flourish and be out throughout the world. So he reaches out his little hand. He has this little twig arm right here. He's a little twig arm. And he brings down and he writes in the sand. And he draws a circle. He says, I'm going to teach you the key to learning. This is not the way we learn right now. We learn right now by being told what to learn and taking a test. That's what you do in school, okay? So I'm going to teach you the way to really learn, the way to get it into your mind, and then bring it into your heart and have it fill every cell in your body until your whole body is on fire and it glows like light and other people are attracted to it. That's what I want to teach you. I want to teach you the true way to learn. So here we go. There are 6 points on this key. The first one is to learn. The second one, so there's 6 points of learning. You learn, and then you have knowledge. Then you have action. Then you have understanding. From understanding, you share it. From sharing, you receive wisdom. That's the way we learn. This is the way we learn. This direction, you learn, you receive knowledge. You act on that knowledge, you receive understanding. You share that knowledge, you become and have wisdom. Okay? There's a pattern, this is the way we go. There's 6 ways of doing that. And so this is what Theo was teaching us. Theo is teaching us that we can become knowledgeable and we can have that light glowing out of our hands and glowing out of our whole body so that other people will be attracted to us, so that we can bring them back to Theo and have them learn even more than what they're supposed to do for their own mission. So this is the key pattern. Now I want to teach you the way that this can fit together in a magnificent way. So if we were to draw a triangle right here, pretend this is a perfect circle with an equilateral triangle. So it's
okay.
not so much, it's more of my isosceles triangle. Okay, so it's the equilateral triangle, and we have this knowledge, right? Can you see any correlation between learn, act, and share? Yes.
I believe then it begins to multiply. The knowledge that you've learned and take action in sharing it gives them the opportunity to learn again.
Yeah, it kind of goes in a pattern, right? It just keeps going over and over. It's a cycle. Yeah, absolutely. So as you're learning, acting, and sharing, what's the correlation between the three of them? Are there similarities? They're all actions. They're all actions. That's
They're all
right.
things I have to do.
Yes.
I have to do something.
That's right. I call this the action triangle. They're all things that we physically have to do. They're the things that are what I get to give back. It's like the giving triangle. We do those three things and it points up. See how the triangle's pointing up? We're giving, we're giving away. And that's how you remember that. Okay, now let's do the next one. Can you see correlation between those three? Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom.
It's something that comes to me.
Yeah, it's in your
I
mind.
get, knowledge comes to me as I'm learning.
Yeah, this is the receiving triangle.
It comes to me as understanding comes to me. And same with wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as I'm learning, I receive knowledge. Then I act on that knowledge. I receive understanding. As I share that knowledge, I receive wisdom. And as soon as I receive wisdom, it's like stepping up to another stair, right? It's another level. I get to start again. Who am I again? What am I to learn? What am I to get knowledge? And it goes on and on. I think of it as a little spiral like this. Right? Every time we hit here, we're at a new level. Now we're going to go around. We're going to learn, knowledge, act, understand, share, and receive knowledge, and then I get to start over. Now I have to learn again. Right? It's that learning spiral as it continues to go up and up and up. Okay.
I
Yes.
heard some things yesterday that was really cool. She said that as you are willing to work on things of yourself, that's acting, and things that you're working on yourself, and then as you do that, you then start to share what you've learned, so teach other people, and when you do, that opens you up to receiving new knowledge
Yeah.
or inspiration.
It's like a vacuum, right? When you share, you have now a hole, and so that you can receive more, and you're ready to receive more. So the more you share, the more you receive. Now in school, did you guys ever have the opportunity to teach, to share?
Once or
Yes.
twice,
Awesome.
yeah. Like when, you'd have these oral reports or
Okay,
something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Did you share in every class?
Yeah.
Teach in every class? Wow, I love your
But
education.
I quantify the technology with the human element and teach how it coordinates and how it works. We all, in a way, interactive and we are intelligent devices.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
That's true. And as a child, in all your classes, you were able to teach too?
We will work on a discussion forum where you exchange ideas
Oh, okay.
and you come out and then you create a common theme from the discussion. You come out and we will disagree on that.
Awesome. Hallelujah. There are more and more schools coming out like that, where you get to teach, you get to learn something, study it, and then you get to teach it. There's a lot of TED Talks right now going on where you can do that, where that's the format. And I'm just so happy that is becoming the way of learning, because without this key piece, no learning can take place. It doesn't stay with you, and you don't have room to receive more. Yeah, it's really important. So, yeah, there's more and more schools coming out like that, and I love that. Okay, any other questions about this? I think you're pondering deeply. Would you like to share?
Well, I'm I'm actually watching you develop something that I've been working on for a long time. I just have it a whole different way of presenting it. And maybe some other day, I wouldn't want to interrupt what you're
Okay.
doing here. This is beautiful. It's very beautiful, and I can't wait to see where you're going with this.
Okay, great. Did you have something?
I look at your two triangles, they're inversely proportional to each other,
Yes.
but they're still the same triangle.
Mhm.
So one is complementing the other, it seems like.
You're exactly right. Yep, exactly, yeah. They're very complementary. In fact, on the color drawing, the one pointing down is blue, and the one pointing up is red. Do you have any idea why? Do you know anything about symbolism? You can
The red is
probably
knowledge
guess.
given, blue is knowledge giving out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep. Blue is like the sky, right? We receive from the sky. It's like this big bucket that Heavenly Father's pouring down on us and pouring down into this thing. So we're receiving from heaven, yeah. And then the red is like fire. You know, like fire starts out fire, but it goes up like this. It's the action, the burning of the action, the energy that it takes to build up, go up. So,
Good,
yeah.
that's good.
It seems to me like the spiral you were drawing, that it's just a normal cycle of human development. Once a person would catch on to that vision of how that works,
Mhm.
they could just keep it perpetually moving
Yeah,
and continually learning.
absolutely.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. In fact, I had a really great experience this last weekend at family reunion. I have a whole bunch of nieces and nephews that are really young, and we got around the table and they started asking me these life questions. Well, why this? Why that? Why this? And my mom, who was sitting there, who they were asking, she finally says, I don't know the answer. I don't know the question. I don't know. she turns to me, she goes, Tresta, you've got to help them. Please answer their questions. So I said, okay, so what's the deepest question that you have? And he says, well, how can we keep learning? It doesn't matter. If you learn all knowledge, you have all knowledge, and it's done. And then you're done. It's going to be boring. Life is going to be boring. And I don't want to be bored forever. And I'm like, all right. So I asked them a question. Would you be bored with all knowledge? Could you not increase something in that all knowledge?
The answer's in your diagram.
Exactly.
It's just follow the pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And he says, it's not just because you have all knowledge, doesn't mean it's going to be boring. And let me show you why. Because as soon as you learn one thing, and then I showed him that little spiral that I drew for you, as soon as you get to the next point, you're learning the same thing again, just at a different level. And then you're going to go learn and go learn again, and you're going to gather all of the knowledge up again, and gather as much knowledge about everything else you knew on a higher level, and then you get to start again. And those little boys, they're 12, 14 years old, they just sat and stared at me. And then they said, well, I get that now. Isn't that amazing? Just a simple little teeny tiny diagram. I was able to answer their life questions. Now they went on to other ones and had different ones, but they will never question that one again because there's always more to learn. It's awesome. Yeah. All right, any other questions about this so far?
I could say, how are you going to, okay, that's all nice and good, but how are you going to use that?
That's my next question to you. How? How can you learn this? How can you use this as a teaching tool? How can you use this as a key to go find those other branches?
Well, I got to find out, how am I going to learn?
Yeah, exactly. We start here, right? This is our starting spot. We're going to learn. So how do we learn? What's the first thing? If you want to learn something new, what do you have to have first?
Question, I guess, you had desire.
Okay.
Desire.
A desire, a question. What about a teeny tiny little baby? Does he have questions?
Nope.
Nope.
I
What do
think
they
it has
have?
to do with the cat.
A cat.
Yes.
Okay.
Curiosity.
Curiosity, right? Okay. Babies are curious, but they can't learn through that curiosity because they can't ask questions, right? So what if they can't ask questions? What's the next best thing that they can do?
Explore.
Yeah, experience.
Explore, experience. They watch you walk, right? You're walking. I want to be like that. How do I do this? I've got these little toes over here. I want to do like he does. So we just observe, right? We just observe and say, hey, that's what I want to do. I'm gonna start trying to do something, right? That's what the first step. So the first thing that we get to, the way that we get to learn is, I call it respond to curiosity. And the way we do that is we observe and we ask questions.
I suppose if we're observing, we're copying or something too.
Sorry, what?
We're copying, but is that the next step?
Yeah, copy, experiment. What is that when the magic school bus? Take chances. Right?
That's one thing.
Take
Kids will do.
chances,
Take chances.
make
They don't care if they fail.
That's
They
right.
want to learn to walk, they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, and do we as adults do that?
No.
Not so much.
No way, we're really scared, right? We don't want to do that at all. So we respond to that curiosity, then we have that. So two things, two stories that here. My professor that I had at college, he said, I have to teach you to ask questions. So I was older, I was off my mission and came home and I had tons of questions and I was asking them like that. But he says most of the people come out of high school, they go into high school, they come into my class and they sit there and say, teach me.
Just like download.
Yep, just teach me. I'm here to be taught, I'm here to get a credit. And he says it takes me 4 months to teach them to think again. 4 months to teach them how to think.
Ask questions.
Why are kids not learning to think? We come out of the womb knowing how to think, and yet by the time we hit college, we don't know how to think anymore. It's because we're not being told and we're not given the opportunity.
We're being trained not to think for
Yeah,
ourselves.
exactly.
We've been trained in the school systems to let other people think for us and tell us what to think and how to think and why to
What's the
think.
answer?
And
And
when
I
to have it
memorized
done.
that answer, and now I can
And
take
if you
the
get
test.
outside of that, this has at least been my experience, once you step outside of that pattern, you're penalized.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're punished.
Mhm.
You get a bad grade, or
Yeah.
you're not as acceptable. You don't fit the mold anymore, and so you feel outcast.
Yes. Yes.
That was my experience
Yeah.
in
mine
school
too.
growing up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep, I was outcast. So I think of it like this. We get handed in school this paint by number every day. Here's a paint by number, here's your colors, here are your crayons, and here's your paint by number, here's your paint by number, and we get to do that paint by number. Now we can do it a little different. We can go outside the lines and get punished for it. We can stay in the lines and get an A for it, but we always are being told what to draw.
And use the color that it told me to
And
use.
use the color
yeah.
that you're supposed to,
Yeah.
yeah, you have all of these rules that you're supposed to follow, right? And then when you graduate from college, you get handed a clean white piece of paper and say, paint. And you go, paint what? I have no idea what you're talking about. I've always been told what to do. I have no idea how to do it on my own.
I think of the word they've coined lately, sheeples.
Mm.
Oh.
We're just people that are
Yeah.
become sheep.
Yep. Yep. Yes.
Okay, I was just watching a TED Talk yesterday. In fact, I'm in the middle of it. I haven't even finished it. And she's talking about the extreme of this. And she became a teacher in North Korea. And she taught at an all-boys school where it was the dignitaries of the country, the people at the top. It was their sons who were expected to be the leaders in the future. And they had, everything is so rigid and so strict that they are told what to think so much that she gave them an assignment to try to write an essay or write a story of something,
Mhm.
and they could not do it. They didn't know how to come up with, they are told absolutely everything what to do and think. Everything is about the leader, the main leader.
Mhm.
Every historical thing, absolutely everything. You know, things like that we take for granted. They've never heard of something like an internet,
Yeah.
or they don't know any of these things. It's just so rigid. So she finally, they have no contact with their families during this time. And she finally had them sit down and write letters to their family, and they're like, they had no clue what to say. They didn't know how to say anything by themselves. No, you tell me what to write down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you tell me.
They're completely conditioned. And that's not, I mean, most of the world isn't that way.
Right.
Most of us have the ability to be able to do some of it. That's an extreme example, but
But it happens.
it kind of puts it in your mind at how far it can actually go.
Mhm.
Yeah, I teach this Cub Scouts, the 8-year-old boys, and I thought, oh, I know what we'll do. I'll take the first time, my first opportunity, I'll take them on a nature hike and we'll just go out into nature and observe. So the boys are walking behind me and I'm like, well, observe. And they're like, what are we supposed to look at? I'm like, what not to look at? There's tons of stuff around you. And so I started pointing things out. I'm like, look, this is a new bud. Look at how the different coloring on this leaf compared to this old leaf. Can you see the difference of the coloring? Why do you think that is? I don't know. Well, guess. Take a guess. Look at the bug. Oh, I don't like bugs. You're 7-year-old boys. You have to like bugs. No, I don't like bugs. They're germy. And I'm like, what about the feather? Ah, it's got germs on it. I'm like, are you serious? I was like going crazy. I was like, you've got to know it. By 7 years old, they're not knowing how to observe, really? It's knocking them out that much at 7 years old. It's shocking to me. It's totally and completely shocking to me that they do not know how to observe. So I do every week now. I take them on a nature hike and they have to observe something. So they are going to learn to observe. So it's really important to keep that curiosity going. If we keep stamping it out of our children, they're going to die. They're not going to survive. They have to know how to be curious. They have to keep that curiosity up. It's so important. I was going to say something else about that. Yeah. Oh, with my children at home. So when we're supposed to be teaching our children, right? What's the purpose of raising children?
To be the extension of you, they're you. In their,
Okay, and what are you?
An extension of my
Of your parents, okay.
and my grandparents.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of, to me, from a spiritual point of view, good children are your blessing. If you get something right, you have good children. If
Yeah.
the children are bad, there's something wrong.
That's a scary thought, huh? Yeah. My kids do lots of bad things. I must be bad. But isn't it true that we're raising our children to be parents? We're parents ourselves. We are their example of how to be a parent.
Well, parent could be a very, very broad term.
Well, yes.
Why do you want to be a parent?
True.
A lot of people right now don't want to be parents.
That's true.
They don't
How
want
about
to
an
be-
adult then?
Well, adult defines what adult responsibility. You just talked about a freedom of spirit.
Yeah.
Adult, if you have to live within the confines of society, you cannot be totally free.
Yeah.
So the rules, and when you go back to your rules, it's a confusing environment you're talking about.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. So then that becomes a new question, right?
I'm sorry?
That becomes a new question.
Yes.
And it becomes a new curiosity. And now we get to explore the answer to that. Right? Yeah, that's awesome. So, and in my home, I teach my children how to be an adult. They have to learn how to cook. They have to learn how to clean. They have to learn how to do their own laundry. They have a day that they cook us all meals and the all dinner. And they're learning how to do that. These kids that I'm bringing in that are teenagers, you're going to let me cook. Yeah, you have a day to cook. It's your day that you're supposed to cook. I don't know how to cook. You're 19 years old. It's time you learn.
Well,
Right?
unintentionally, they're learning how to be responsible and appreciate what
Yes,
you know.
yes,
That's really what you're teaching.
Yes.
In the broader sense.
yes, exactly.
So how is it that you transform their minds so that it's no longer, you're gonna make me cook? Because they expect it. Someone's always been doing it for them all their
Oh, yeah,
lives.
yeah.
As though that's the entitlement of our children, that someone else serves them all the
That's
time.
true, very
How
much
do you
entitlement.
transform that mindset to where you're gonna let me cook, I heard you say? You're gonna allow me to cook? How do you get that away from the thought, you're gonna make me cook?
Okay,
Because
that's a good point.
The
Because
entitled,
if they're your
the
children,
entitlement
they're living in your
mindset says,
house.
you're gonna make
Yeah,
me do this?
I'm not gonna
You're not gonna serve me?
Right. So maybe, there's lots of ways.
Can I
There's
give an
actually really
example?
a lot of ways, yeah.
The example is you, and the way, when you have that come to you, they'll say, well, what am I supposed to cook? I'm like, well, let's go find out, let's go. Well,
Open
how
the
do
cupboard
I,
and get
how do I
curious.
make this? Let's experiment.
Good.
That's the way she does things. Tresta does that. She takes and comes at it from a curiosity rather than a, you have to do this.
And I
It's-
don't give recipes either.
No.
If they want a recipe, they go to Google and they find a recipe and they get it.
Yeah, because
But if
she
I tell
doesn't
them,
use
give them the
recipes
recipe
herself.
they're gonna cook, then yeah, I don't use it myself. So they've gotta learn how to do it in the bush, right? They gotta learn how to do it in things.
But I think that's the point, because in your story about the 7-year-olds that you're taking, you're going on this walk and you're pointing out things that to help them see the curiosity that they could have.
Yeah.
And then that now suddenly is, wait a second, this is kind of cool.
You're taking me back to a time when I was 15 years old, and I lived with a family in Chicago, wonderful family, the Carlsons, and Nola Carlson, the mother, was an ex-Army sergeant. She lived with an Indian tribe for a couple of years. She knew all this nature, survival things, and she took us to a nature preserve in the middle of Chicago one day, and took us on a nature hike, and then stopped at a certain point and asked us the question, if you were left here all of a sudden, had to survive right here, what's the first thing you would think of? And so she put it to our minds to start thinking for ourselves. She didn't tell us anything,
Yeah.
but she let us think for ourselves. I remember that hike, that nature hike, was one of the funnest days of my life, because we had to think, how would I survive if I was right here by myself and I couldn't leave the nature preserve? What would I do?
Yeah.
We got night falling, what would I do? It's middle of summer now, thank goodness, but what if it was winter? It was the funnest thing we ever did. And I was thinking a moment ago, how you transition those minds away from having everyone else think for them to thinking for themselves. And I just realized that's what Nola was doing for us that day,
Just planting.
was taking
a
us out
tiny
in the
little
real
question.
place, in reality,
Yeah.
putting us in that position, and now you think, what would you do? Now, she might have assisted us as needed, but we had a greatest time finding a fallen tree and making and building a house out of it.
Yeah.
We just had a marvelous time
Yeah.
thinking of what to do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I talk too much. You've got
No,
me excited
that's-
here. This is
that's
this is a lot of
awesome.
fun.
No, this is great.
Just watching what you're developing here.
Yeah, that curiosity.
Enjoying it so much.
And asking questions is the thing, right? And when you have a big classroom and you ask the question, say, this is my intention for this classroom, think on this question, then they're either consciously or subconsciously, they're gonna be thinking of that question all throughout that class, and at the end of the classroom, they're gonna say, oh, I think I have an answer, right? It's really important to get them thinking and engaged in what you're doing.
So are you also talking about getting them away from the computer?
Yes.
Like the gaming that thinks for them? That okay, because this is the biggest thing.
My kids have to earn computer.
And
I
you,
have-
and what are they earning? They're earning to be able to do, I don't know if you're at all familiar with Minecraft. Minecraft is where they actually have to build something. They have to
So
create.
my son is building in Minecraft my dream home.
So there's a thinking.
Yeah,
activity
it's not
that's
just a-
dealing with the computer.
Yeah, it's
But
not
it's-
just.
it's
'cause
thinking.
We know that
It's
this
constructive.
technology is here, we can use it and have the benefit of the technology. It's just that so much has been created already that it's just the mindless part.
And also another one back to the making the meals and making them make the meals. What's your favorite food? When you're out on your own, would you like to know how to make that favorite food? What would it take for you to learn how to make that in the most exquisite tasting food ever? Get them curious.
I have to get past, okay, I'm confessing here, I have to get past the line, this is boring.
Yeah.
I have a daughter who loves to read, a voracious reader. She would rather get lost in a magnificent book for hours or go on the computer and get lost in something that really excites her there on the computer than to cook anything. And she'll say, oh, Dad, won't you just do it for me? Won't you just do it for me? I'd rather read. Always something else. So give us, have you got ideas? How to
Once a
make
week.
those things
Once a
exciting.
week.
You
Once
gotta
a
turn
week
it
you
exciting.
do it with her.
Say again?
Once a week you do it with her.
That's what I was doing this
Yeah,
last week.
you sit right next to her and say, what's your favorite food? You like lasagna? Okay, what's in lasagna? Let's go to the store, let's buy that, let's come back. If she hates it really a lot, then will you just cut the bell peppers or onions and fry them? Now, do they taste good? Is that right? You just keep asking questions. Make it to where she becomes curious.
Get them engaged, ask questions, keep them involved, work together with them. That's what I'm hearing you talk about.
That's the one I have seen over and over with our children, is going and telling them, go do this is ridiculous. It just doesn't work.
I think I'm gonna have to take Amy with me, because Amy's just a ball of enthusiasm all the time.
Well,
She
they have
makes
favorite music,
everything
turn their
happy.
favorite music on. I mean, everything. My daughter she loves to cook, but she has to do it to her type of music. So I let her type of music be played while she's cooking. And another one, I have a son that loves to cook. He can take anything out of the cupboard and mix and match and put it together and make this gorgeous gourmet meal. And it looks decorative and it's gorgeous on the plate, and he delivers it. I have another son that just says, oh, we're just having macaroni and cheese, and he makes the macaroni and cheese and delivers it plop into a bowl. I don't care. They're learning how to do it. They don't have to compare themselves to each other. They don't have to even do that. They just have to learn how. And they get to. They love to.
Okay, I got it. I gotta make it exciting somehow.
Yes, make it exciting.
I have to be weird.
Yeah,
I
that
have to
works.
be abnormal. I
Well,
can't be
you
the
have to know their
typical.
personalities, right?
I've got to
You
do
have to know
something
their
exciting, make it fun
personalities.
for her.
That's a
Yeah,
really good point.
If she's a fun personality, absolutely.
is.
I have a son that's not a fun personality. I make it as boring as possible, and he's happy.
No, it's true. If you
just
make
saying,
it
you have to
exciting
adjust.
and supposedly fun, what we would think was fun, he's going, this is ridiculous. I don't need this.
Yeah.
I'll go back over and do
Yeah,
this.
when we start having fun, he leaves the room. So I just make it as boring as possible. I'm like,
But
Yeah,
then he
you're
thinks
so
it's
funny.
funny.
I know he
So-
does.
You know, with
He
my
thinks
daughter,
it's
I've got to
funny.
do something. I'm tiptoe, tulips. I've got to do something weird with her,
All right, then
so that
get on your
she'll wake
happy.
up.
Wake up, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
You can do it.
Yeah, this is good. Thank you.
You can do it. Okay, we are.
We're on
Yeah,
curiosity.
we're still on the first one. So let's move on.
I have to break the ice. with
Okay,
her
this is
somehow.
curiosity. Respond to curiosity. That's how you learn. Okay? Now, how do we get knowledge? How do we get that into our mind? If you think of the word mind here, getting knowledge. So this one is remember. This is where you ask the why questions. Why am I studying this? Why does it have to be that way? Why do I have to cook dinner tonight?
No, but that question should come on item number 1, not number 2.
That's what most people think. That's what I thought forever. But does a baby come out of the womb and say, why do I have to learn to walk?
No, but when you use the word knowledge, knowledge is information. Knowledge is, question should ask prior to the knowledge.
Okay, but this is how you receive knowledge.
So you're already
it's
getting
really
the knowledge
like
by
you're right
learning.
here, you're asking your why
Asking
questions
somewhere in
here.
between,
Yeah.
you're not asking, when you reach knowledge is too late. You're asking prior to the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. So I'm teaching, these things are what has to happen to receive knowledge. So you have to ask the why question first to receive. Yeah. And then number 2,
That's 3.
3, is to relate. And I say relate to symbols. Or, yeah. So how can we do that? What does it mean by to relate? When you relate to something to yourself.
You're bringing that, whatever that knowledge was, you're taking that knowledge you got, and you're saying, okay, it's all fine and good to know that this equation in math works, but what does that have to do with me? And I find out that if I don't know this equation, I'm going to have 0 balance in my bank account. Now I know what it has to do with me.
Okay.
I think the word is you've got it right there. to relate. It internalizes it. As we relate, we internalize it.
Mhm.
I think we understand the things we relate with. We've had experience with them. They become part of us, internalized, like Amy's saying. And then that's what makes us understand it.
Yeah.
And so we're comfortable with it. Is that what we're driving at?
And you use the next word. That's what that does, is it brings us to the next.
Bring us back to understanding, yeah.
Okay.
But if you can't relate to it, then add a symbol to it. So if it's really abstract, like what does the word faith mean? Then you attach something like an allegory to it, like the Book of Mormon does all the time, right? That faith is like a seed, right? Then we're going to attach that symbol to it, and now we understand that abstract concept when we take something physical and add it to it. So if you're trying to teach your children respect, what does respect mean? It's abstract. You need to have something physical attached to it so you can make it and give them an analogy with that. That's what related, that's another way of saying relate to it. Okay? You're relating your life to it. So we say your daughter reads a lot, right? So
Yes.
say she's reading, I don't know, The Secret Garden.
Okay.
Okay, and she's just finished reading Secret Garden, you want her to cook, you're going to talk to her about The Secret Garden. What
Okay.
character did you relate to in that book?
This is
Relate.
good. This is
Okay.
a good idea. I'll try that one.
Okay.
Relate.
Yeah.
Oh. that's
So
good.
you help them learn how to relate to what they read. Learn how to relate to those numbers like he did. Learn how to relate to all the concepts that you're trying to teach them, but put something physical with it if it's abstract. If it's physical, make it abstract too. You have that combination. It's like a horizontal represents the physical aspect or the
Concrete.
concrete thing, and the vertical line represents the spiritual or the abstract. And it's when, or this could represent the student, and this could represent the teacher. And we want to have that synergy, that connection of where it meets. When they meet and they understand and you relate together, then you're like, whoa, I get it. See, because if you ask your daughter how she fits in and what character did she relate to herself most, you get to know her, you get to know her personality, and you get to know where she fits and what kinds of questions she has. And then you can go from there and build on that too. And then you say, how does that relate to your life? You get to know your daughter in a way more deeper level than you ever would.
I'll remember that.
So right here, this connection, this synergy, this is when learner and teacher both learn. They both grow. They both are edified. All right, let's move on.
Well, so that action gave us understanding.
Yes, and understanding, in most cases when you read the word understanding, is the word heart next to it. So you're going from your knowledge in your mind, and knowledge in your mind is just a whole bunch of information, right? You can receive information from all over, everywhere. But when it becomes understanding, it becomes more internalized. It's like planted in the ground. These are just seeds floating around, and this is planted in the ground. So it's the heart. And here is to respond. No,
Recognize.
recognize, thank you. Principles. And Steve, this is where you come in, right? Principles are really important. What are principles and how do they relate? Principles are things that can never change. Principles are things that are true now and true 100,000 years ago and 100,000 years from now. There's something that never changes. If you can recognize the principles in whatever you're teaching, recognize the principles in cooking, recognize the principles in reading, recognize the principles of things. These are the things, if they can attach something that will always be true no matter what, then it becomes an understanding. It's stuck in their heart.
I think it also gives them peace. I think it helps them gain a feeling of their stability, even though they see all the other stuff. It gives them stability.
Yeah, exactly. And its principles and doctrines are the stability in life. Because if we can walk around the world and say, well, my mom told me not to smoke, and my mom told me not to have tattoos, and my mom said that, da, da, da. And you go out in the world and you meet some guys that are smoking and have tattoos, and they're amazing. Well, now your principles all just changed. My mom's a liar. My mom is this, right? It changes. But if we can build and grow and teach our children on principles that are always true forever, and the applications is the what changes, that's where we'll have the true conversions, true knowledge. Okay, any questions so far?
No, makes a lot of sense, thank you.
All right, 5, we have to share it. We retain, notice all my RE words, right? By teaching. And I'm sure all of you can testify to that, right? When you teach it, you learn more. When you teach
It's
it, you
solid.
share it, you
It's
always
there.
learn. Yeah. That's why I love teaching so much. The more I teach, the more I learn. The more I give, the more I receive. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard when people steal your stuff, though. You give and give and give, and they all take it and they use it for their own stuff. But you still receive more. You're going to get more, and you're going to get more. And you should always remember that give and receive cycle, just like these 2 triangles. This is the receiving, this is the giving. It's the give and receive cycle. And it's important to know that, because if you're only giving and not knowing how to receive, then it's going to be blocked. But if you're only receiving and not sharing it, then it's going to be blocked too. It's blockable learning. And you've got to keep it going, yeah.
This is just a fun example, but I used to teach women dress things and all that, and we'd say, if you want some new clothes, give some away. It worked. It actually worked.
It does.
Go through your closet, give away as much as you can,
Yeah.
and then new things come.
New things come. Mm-hmm.
It's the same
Yeah,
principle.
we call that the law of the vacuum.
Yeah.
You make a space for it, something's going to be put in there,
That's right.
The nature uses that. You dig a hole, pretty soon something's going to be filling that hole.
I have a brother who used to tell my sister, if you want a new coat, just don't bring the other one home from school.
Same idea.
That's, and she would get one. I'm not sure that's what you're talking about.
Well, the concept mommy might not like that, but it's true. She would eventually get a new coat, right? It does get filled. Okay, and the 6th one. What was it? Oh,
Rejoice.
Rejoice in your results. This one is forgotten. This one is not ever done. We're afraid to rejoice. We're afraid to say, oh, I learned this, it's so exciting. Like little kids.
Yeah,
used
I
to
don't do it that way.
I do.
Amy does.
I get excited, I'm kind of wild, but I don't quite do it that way.
Now you're just illustrating something. You give yourself permission
Yes, I do.
to get that excitement. And Amy does it every single day of her life. And funniest thing, when I'm around Amy, she's full of this energy and this happiness, and she gives me permission. When she behaves that way, she gives me permission to do the same thing. I get sore cheeks every day because I'm smiling
not
so much
exercised enough.
around Amy.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. It's like, give yourself permission
Yeah, give yourself
to
permission.
be excited about it.
Well, and how often we think, well, I can't go, okay, this is what I see all the time. We have adults who we've been taught as children, you can't go play until your chores are done. So when can adults play? Our chores are never done.
So we have to make our chores fun.
So we have to
Yes.
do things, but when we've succeeded at something, we need to celebrate it.
Yes, absolutely.
And when we celebrate it, then it actually gives us energy to go to respond to the next thing
When
to
you
learn.
talked, Tom, I saw the cycle coming.
Yes, exactly.
I just saw that
I've now had
cycle.
a party about it.
Yoo-hoo,
Now I get
let's
to
go.
learn again.
Yeah, let's go for
Yeah,
another
yeah.
one.
Well, because then you see, but then with that, you're open. You've opened up, and that's what I was saying before. You're open up to be able to be more curious. I mean, in reality, some of this happens. It happens, but people don't know it. You know, scientists are always looking deeper and deeper into things because they've learned one thing.
I think they find a love in it.
Yes,
Don't they
yes.
love what they're doing? Because
And so
I
they-
love my work.
So they find a new thing.
I think everyone wishes they could have work that they just love.
Yeah, absolutely.
but finding a way to make it something we love.
Mhm. And that's why you're so good, Tresta, is because you love what you're doing.
Yes, I do. Yeah. Yep. And so let's think this in teaching our children, or teaching in homeschooling,
I
okay?
teach children to love doing chores. You mentioned chores. So it's no longer monotonous or boring or the penalty that I have to go through before I can go play.
Right, right. My little boys have a little checklist that they have to do, and they wrote the checklist, they made the checklist. I didn't, they did. So they made the checklist, they have to do that before they can play. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Mom, I forgot my big five. I forgot to do the big five. I said, what in the big five did you forget? My teeth. I said, well then go do it. Oh, okay. So he goes and does the teeth. Oh, now can I play, Mom? Right? So yeah, they make their own chore charts. That's really important. They make their own rules. And we just help them along. Okay, so let's make this into an example. You're going to be teaching them, say we're going to be learning medieval history, okay? And you're wanting to introduce this. So you sit them down and say, hey, I want to teach you medieval history today. Do you know anything about medieval history? Let's ask it. Let's show pictures. You get them curious about that. Look, they have knights. Oh, look, they have armor. They have helmets. Look, they have kings. They have queens. Oh, look over here. They have peasants. Oh, would you like to be a peasant? Would you like to be a king? Would you like to have a sword? I mean, just get them curious, right? Get them really interested in what we're about to learn. And then have them ask the questions. What do they want to say? Oh, Tennyson's really interested in the battles. Okay. Tasha's really interested in the way the girls dress. And so and so. Okay, so I'm going to now incorporate all of those areas as my main lesson, what they're interested in. Okay? Then I'm going to go to why. Let's receive that knowledge now. Okay, why are we going to study medieval history? What's the importance of studying medieval? My daughter would say, history again. I hate history. Well, let's make it fun then. Why do you hate history? Why did God have history? Why do we have history? What's important about history? Let's study about the word history. Let's do a word study. I mean, there's a million things we could do here, right? To learn about why we're going to study history or why we're going to study it. And sometimes it's really important to know this. Sometimes you're not going to answer this question until after you've rejoiced. But that's the question you start with. Why is medieval history important to learn? And throughout the whole season you're going to be studying medieval history, you're going to have that, keep asking that same question. And on the day of the party, you're going to say, okay, why was it important for us to learn that? They're all going to have individual answers, but they're all going to be right.
Because it was why it was important for them.
Well, it's because why it was important for them, yeah. Okay, so then you're asking why. Now you're going to over there and say, well, let's respond in that. Let's make a dress. Let's buy a sword. Let's make a sword. Let's do a battle. Let's reenact the battle. Let's do da-da-da-da. Like, we're going to act it out. We're going to respond to what we love and learn. And let's go read about the battle so that we know how to reenact it. Let's get out the little army men. Let's do this. And understanding. Okay, now that's where we put in this spiritual aspect, right? Or this abstract aspect. We've now made a dress. We've now reenacted the war, and we've now created this. So now let's add this abstract reason, this abstract thing. How can we relate it to yourself? Relate it to you personally. Relate it to them personally. Tasha, why do you love this dress so much? Why does it fit you? Did you make it for yourself? Did you make it for them? How relate it to themselves? Relate it to that abstract thing. Or you could take the abstractness of, say, what heraldry. Heraldry is just the word out there, right? So what does it mean now? Let's add a symbol to that. Let's add a physical symbol to that. What does heraldry mean to you? What can you liken it to? And they'll say, oh, heraldry means you have a sword. All right, so what does a sword mean? Okay, we're going to take that physical something, and we're going to take that physical something, and we're going to make it into something abstract now. And when you learn how to take abstract things and concrete things and put them together, it's powerful. Because the sword represents might. It could represent your tongue, right? Because your tongue could be a sword. All right, well then how are you going to use your sword? If you're going to use your tongue as your sword, you're going to use your sword. Are you going to use it for evil or are you going to use it for good? See? see how you take that symbol and you can create it into an abstract and concrete. Okay, so that's that, and then you receive understanding. When you can take that symbol and bring it back into you receive understanding, you get it. Wow. Man, medieval times is so important because I get to talk about what I believe. Most kids wouldn't say, you would go into school and like, what? How did you get that out of this? But if we have that whole abstract concrete concept, they will now associate medieval history with being able to speak their own voice. It's powerful. It's powerful. And it's for their own mission. They learn what they want. You never tell them what to learn, you tell them what they want. Okay, then we go to share. Then you have, this is where I invite other people to come in. I say, hey, the Johnson family, come on in. I've got something to share with you. My kids have a presentation they want to share with you. Or you invite their friends over. Just sit right here and show them your notebook. Do this thing. They're sharing. They're always constantly sharing. And then we have a big party. We invite the neighborhood, we invite all the homeschoolers around, we're having a medieval party, bring this and this and this and this, and then we celebrate. And then they will always remember that. They remember the parties. When they remember the parties, then they remember the teachings. When they remember the teachings, they remember what they're supposed to do and what God wants them to do. That's when you rejoice. So this is their very important way to do it. And then they get to learn again. Okay, what's next? We get to learn about World War II, right? Or whatever the concept is, or whatever they want to learn. So now let's conclude with this middle section right here. Do you know what shape that is?
An oddly shaped hexagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an oddly shaped hexagon. But it's a hexagon. It also has 6 points, right? Just as the outside circle has the 6 points. But notice something about the hexagon. It's really important. It touches every single one of these triangles. Right? This is like, if you were to look about it in the scriptures, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday touches all things, right? It's the Sabbath day. We get to keep it holy. That's the Sabbath day, but it's also here where we need to do something in every single triangle. And there's 4 things. You reflect what you learn, and there's a process of learning how to reflect. There's a thing called reflections. You learn how to do a reflection. What you do in activity, then you reflect on it. It's learning how to take that abstract and concrete and put them together. And then a review. And a review is just just reviewing what you've learned so that it keeps it up in the forefront. The more times you review, the more times you remember. Lots of studies have been done on that.
And looking at this for different cultures, you mentioned it as a Christian symbol with the Sabbath day, but this could be the same thing. Among Jews, it would be Saturday, their 7th day.
This is a Jewish symbol.
And among Muslims, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same
Right.
same type of a symbolism. That center becomes the 7th
Yeah,
day, and the others is still touching no matter which culture you're coming from.
that's right.
Good.
That's right. I actually learned that in my rituals and symbolisms class in Hebrew culture. So this is the Hebrew model. Yeah. Review and then record. And there's a whole process of learning how to make a record of everything that you do. You're always writing here. This is where you're like brainstorming kind of ideas. This is where you're going to be just throwing out ideas and bouncing
Questions.
and making a brain map. Questions, asking questions, writing.
And what are the
questions,
answers to
things like
them?
that. You're recording in every single time that you're doing in every single one of these. So these go to the triangles. You guys got that, right? Okay. So each one of these within the triangle, how you do that, you're recording it all the time. And then the biggest one. Is receive revelation. Revelation needs to be a part of it as a teacher, and revelation needs to be a part of it as a learner. Because the Spirit can take you into, the Spirit working from the student can bring it unto the student, but it has to have, that Spirit has to be the inside, on that side, to bring it into the student. So unto, and then into. Yeah, it's really important to know it that way. Because if you both have the Spirit, both are edified. If both don't have the Spirit, nobody's edified.
Mhm.
Or one-sided edified. Okay. That is also in every single one of them. So let's bring it back to the story. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you just mentioned, if you don't have a spirit, nobody's edified. How do you tell you have the spirit? How do you teach people? If it's so key, if it's so crucial,
Yeah.
how do you tell you have it?
Okay, the bottom line is, I have a whole video on how to fill the Spirit. And there's many different ways, but the bottom one, the most shocking of all, that everybody always goes through, that my kids just love, I say this: what new did you learn today? Anything at all. What new have you learned today? Answer the questions for yourself. What have you learned new today?
I'm learning your pattern.
Well, okay, besides all, yeah.
Everything on board, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
I would say it's one of the ways I know is when I learned something that maybe wasn't in any of it. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's like the ahas.
See,
Yeah.
It's
That are
like-
personal to your life that had nothing to do with what I was learning, what
Yeah.
I was teaching.
And
That's
if I
what we're
didn't
trying
have
to-
that, then I wasn't.
Yeah, right. So the answer to that question, or that one of the points of how to fill the Spirit, is if you've learned anything new today at all, you have the Spirit with you. Because no learning takes place
Okay,
without
so
the Spirit.
what you're really saying here is what I teach about, is every individual, every human being has within them a spirit of truth.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And it's learning how to access it, how to tap into it, how to
Yes.
hear it.
Mhm.
So when you're learning, anything you learn that's true is coming from that spirit of truth. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and
We're
it's
on the
the
same
and it's the
Yeah.
it's those. I just think I'm just repeating myself, I guess. But that spirit of truth, you go, oh, aha, I got it.
it's part of me now. That
Yeah.
aha moments are when you internalize it, it becomes part of you forever.
Well, it's
from then
going
on.
from that knowledge that you're just being thrown at you, right, and putting it and planting it in things. Oh, I get it. It's like a new, fresh breath.
Well, shoot, if all you needed was a bunch of knowledge thrown at you, then all we need is Google.
Are you talking about,
True or false, y'all? That's all you.
you circled revelation, receiving revelation. Are you talking about receiving revelation? When you get that aha moment, oh,
Yes.
oh, I got it.
That's revelation.
It, okay, so that's, see, people have to learn how to identify that.
Amen. That's why I have a video on it.
They have to learn how to identify it, or they don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, right. They don't realize that that's what's
Exactly.
happening.
So how to identify your ahas.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, now I gotta see your video.
It's available.
Excellent, Trista, excellent.
Thank you. So this is the key pattern of learning. So Theo gives the key to the kids. They study it. No, I have a book writing. I'm in the middle of writing this book. So Faith and Obie are the two little kids. Faith decides that she wants to take this key, but she wants to make it in beautiful artwork. So she has an art notebook that she writes in, and she writes her questions on one side of the page, and she writes her answers on another side of the page throughout her notebook. But Obie, he doesn't like the flowery things. That's too girly for him, and so he carves it out of wood. And he's made this wood piece that's like this big, and it looks exactly like this. It has on one side, it has these learning words. And on the other side, it has the R words, the relearning words on the other side. And he gets to take that with him. And as he's going 5-4 and looking for those branches of language and in literature, he's going to use that in order to make the key to bring those branches back, to branch them back into the theology. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's a beautiful process. It's a beautiful thing. So I want to conclude with a little song. Not the best singer, but this is the way to teach the children how to relearn. So if you get that this is the learning cycle, this is the relearning cycle. So for the R's, so you respond to curiosity, remember the doctrine, relate to symbols, recognize the principles, retain by teaching, rejoice in your resolve. Receive revelation, receive revelation, receive revelation, reflect, review, record. Thank you very much.
Woo!